Those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. You have studied the original Anarch Revolt of the 14th and 15th centuries so thoroughly that you can see the patterns beginning to emerge in the modern Knights of the Damned. You may claim lineage to one of the original founders of the revolt, or you know someone who was there when Tyler killed Hardestadt. But it doesn't matter. You know the truth, and you will chronicle the past in hopes of helping the future. Perhaps through your knowledge of the past, you can perceive or even try to control the swelling tide of young vampires showing the signs of rebellion. Greetings, kindred. I am voivodemekhet, and welcome back to our world of darkness and the Laws of the Night playlist. In this playlist, we go over LARP, live action roleplay rules for Vampire the Masquerade, which are presented to us by Mind's Eye Theater and by Night Studios. So, Loresheets in the book are marked down as a special type of background advantage. You can buy these at character creation, or with your storyteller's permission, you can buy them after your character's already been in play for some time. This is something that you're going to want to talk to your storyteller about, because not all Loresheets will fit within the confines of a chronicle. Loresheets are a special way of not only giving your character a special advantage or advantages in gameplay, but also tying them in to the overall background meta plot within the Vampire the Masquerade storyline. I have found as a storyteller that Loresheets tend to be ignored at character creation just because it's a new mechanic and people don't exactly know what it is. Now, depending on when you're watching this, or even in your chronicle setting, this might not be true for you. You could very well have a game there people are obsessed with Loresheets, and with good reason. People who are used to playing Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition tabletop will know the benefits of Loresheets and exactly what they can do for your character. And there are several options in Laws of the Night and in future publications coming out from by Night Studios. That being said, I do want to point out that Loresheets are a lot different in LARP than they are in tabletop. In the tabletop setting of Vampire the Masquerade, Loresheets are going to add a special nuance to your character sheet. You might get a bump here and there in a background, or even a discipline power, because you have an associated lore sheet. However, in LARP, Loresheets tend to be a heavier hitting mechanic. They give you massive advantages, and they also should be something that are limited in a game, maybe only allowing a certain number of people out of a larger group to take that amount. Or you could build an entire chronicle completely around a lore sheet. Another huge difference from tabletop to LARP is that, much like all other backgrounds in LARP, the lore sheets are limited to 3 different advantages instead of 5 as they are in tabletop, as there is a condensed way of running things, as with all backgrounds in LARP, compared to tabletop. Purchasing lore sheets can be done with your free points at character creation. At character creation, you get 7 free background traits, and you are completely allowed to dump those points into a lore sheet, getting those free dots. And I want to stress that very much, because there's a difference between dots and experience traits. At character creation, you will be given a free amount of experience traits to flesh out your character, to make them an individual. And when you have those are to be spent as experience points. Backgrounds are purchased at 3 experience per dot. But with your 7 free traits of dots, you can just take the points completely without worrying about the expanded cost when it comes to experience. That being said, if you wanted to buy the Sect Veteran Lore Sheet, for example, taking that would cost you 6 of your 7 free dots of backgrounds. However, if you're going to buy it with your free XP at character creation, it would cost you 3 points for a level 1, 6 points for a level 2, and 9 experience points for a level 3. Bring the total to 18 points if you wanted to buy a complete lore sheet. Now, personally, I am the kind of person who likes to buy things little by little over time so that my character has a chance to grow into what those advantages are. That is my style of playing. It is not the only style of playing. And being able to start with a small amount of a lore sheet to build up the tension is a lot of fun. With that being said, you do not have to buy these in order of experience. You do not have to start with level 1. You could very well start with the 3-point background instead, because what these are associated advantages with the meta plot that your character can take advantage of in any order they wish. You could buy a 1, you could buy 1 and a 3, you could buy just the second one. You can do it any way you want to. And that needs to be kept in mind, that these are not a progression style trait. In that way, multiple characters could start with the same lore sheet and have completely different advantages for taking it. This lore sheet is only for Anarch characters, and it can be used in a variety of reasons. The Anarch Revolt was a very interesting time in Vampire the Masquerade history. And in its time, we don't just see the Anarch Revolt going through and doing what people would assume, but we also see the creation of the Camarilla and the Sabbat. So this lore sheet gives you a lot of interesting knowledge that you can use. Now, in the setting for Vampire the Masquerade, by book rules, or rules as written, raw, as we storytellers like to call it, none of the characters really should have been alive in that time period. This was like 500 years ago, and therefore kind of goes past what the book has intended. That doesn't mean that your people might not play a period game where you're set in the Victorian ages or possibly the Wild West. In that situation, you could very well still have characters who were there at that point in time, but you should still gain access to the same advantages that are given here in this lore sheet. So, let's take a look at those advantages. Investing 1 dot in this lore sheet gets you Hold the Line. Like your progenitor, you are a source of inspiration to other Anarchs in tense situations. Once per night, when one of your gangmates is required to take a frenzy test, you may call out to them with encouragement to keep it together. This allows them to automatically pass the frenzy test. You also gain the first 2 dots of the leadership and politics skills. When you're playing in an Anarch game, controlling your comrades' frenzy is actually a pretty big deal. Making sure that they can keep together while you're trying to do things can mean success or failure when it comes to a gang trying to achieve specific goals. There are certain disciplines that cause you to have to make a frenzy test, and this right here would counteract that balance. Couple that with the fact that you get the first 2 points, 2, of your leadership and politics skills. That can save you quite a bit of experience, in fact, since when you're purchasing your skills, they're 3 times the number that you're buying. So that's 18 points that your characters have just saved. 3 points for the first skill, 6 points for the second skill, 9 points, 2 different skills in that category, 18 points. So not only can you just tell your friend that you're with, no, now's not a good time to frenzy, we got to keep things together, you're also saving 18 points on character creation or improving your character just by taking this 1 dot that costs you 3 points. Investing 2 dots in this lore sheet gets you mutual support. Every vampire has people who are important to them, humans who allow them to stay strong in the face of oppression. You understand the importance of protecting these people on an instinctual level. When a touchstone, whether it belongs to you or any of your gangmates, comes under threat, you know it. Your ears prick up and your hairs stand on end. Mutual support may not give you points, so to speak, but they do give you a chance to stop touchstones of your group getting into trouble. For some reason, your character just has some type of extrasensory perception when it comes to a touchstone of your own or your friends coming in some type of danger. This could actually lead to a lot, considering the fact that it's difficult to replace a touchstone, and your touchstones reflect on your humanity throughout gameplay. Investing 3 dots in this lore sheet gets you in open rebellion. You are an agent of change, capable of rallying the masses to rage against injustice. When you are motivated, you can cause whole neighborhoods to come unglued. Once per night, you can cause a disturbance in a neighborhood of your choice, giving your gang the effects of deterrence. 3. In a sphere of influence of your choice, for a night. This works as great cover for violence. Only obvious supernatural activities will breach the masquerade in the neighborhood while the riot is underway. Everything else will be written off as gang violence or some other form of mundane violence. However, you gain 2 stains that cannot be reduced by any means because of the destruction and mayhem that you have unleashed. So I think the first thing that we have to go over with that is on page 307 we find deterrents. Deterrents are a group of traits that represent how secure the mortal population of the territory is from outside influence. Each dot of deterrence must be focused on one sphere of influence. You may purchase up to 3 dots of deterrence for every sphere of influence. For each dot of deterrence, all non-coterie characters get -1 to any mundane pools, excluding hunting, to interact with the mortals in the sphere of influence within that territory. This penalty also applies if a character is employing backgrounds versus the environment. Deterrents never add to a coterie member's pool, instead acting as an increased difficulty when other characters are operating inside the territory. Any coterie member can allow any other character to ignore their deterrent traits at any time by notifying the storyteller. So that's actually an interesting mechanic to bring into things. The fact that you have the ability to just suddenly cause some unrest in some fashion concerning specific influence spheres. That is one thing that we may have to go over in a separate video altogether. But I think it's very interesting that this lore sheet here, this Anarch Revolt lore sheet, opens it up so that you have the ability to do this once per night, once per game session. That can cause a lot of issues, especially if somebody is trying to get in there. So basically, you cause a riot, and that can be a huge bump when it comes to like trying to do anything within a territory that you might control. But it also says that you could do this in a neighborhood of your choosing. So keep that in mind, that you can cause civil unrest with this lore sheet in a session. Now, I do think there might be some repercussions if you decide to do this. Eventually, people are going to end up getting arrested. There are going to be people who get injured in these fashions. And this is the kind of thing that reflects the fact that you're going to gain 2 stains for doing this. So where this is a very powerful move, there are consequences that the person who calls it is going to have to suffer. So this lore sheet, this Anarch Revolt lore sheet, which is for Anarch characters only, offers a wide variety of things. Not only free traits on your character sheet, but also the ability to manipulate the city in specific ways when needed. These are the reasons lore sheets are so destructive and dangerous, and should be taken into consideration when a storyteller is putting a game together. Much like in tabletop, when a player takes a lore sheet, in my opinion as a storyteller, this is telling the storytelling team what exactly the players want to see happen in their game. This has been a fun overview of the Anarch Revolt lore sheet, and I hope that everybody is getting as much out of these as I am, because as a storyteller, I'm learning how this system works as well. With that, I am voivodemekhet, and thank you for joining me in our world of darkness to discuss these live-action roleplay benefits that you can add to your character just to add a little bit of flavor. Good evening.